So when the opportunity came up for me to get probably the last thicknesser and jointer that I'll ever need, I took it. Although if you watched the first video, now is the time to cross fingers. This is kind of where the financial trouble started. But we'll get into that later on in the video. For now, I need to get started on the next product for the Celery Top shop, a simple tee box. Welcome back to part 2 of my journey into building an online woodworking store. If you didn't see the first video, I'm using these blocks of celery top pine from Tasmania to make simple homeware style products to bring my business back out of debt. In this video, I'll be adding a second product to the shop, as well as going through the steps leading up to launching the website where I'm going to sell them. So if you want to see all of that come together, stick around. These boards are full of cracks, so this time I was a little smarter and filled them before milling them up, which saved a lot of time down the track.
Oh, quick check square. Check square again.
Now I'm going to cut some strips out of this, which will make up the side walls of the box. Having built a box roughly of this shape, I know between 12 and 15 millimeters is kind of the sweet spot. Anything less than that, you run the risk of having a box that's too delicate. Anything more, it ends up a bit chunky and it just looks too heavy. So I'm gonna cut these at around 17 mil. That gives me a few mil to clean them up, and that'll get me down to around 13, 14 mil. I'm still going to be adding a strip of Tasmanian myrtle underneath, but now that I'm looking at this, I think these box sides are too tall. They don't look proportionally correct. So before moving forward, I'm going to cut a little strip off on the bandsaw and then get back to it. After getting all the side panels to thickness, I started work on the bottom panels. The thickness of this panel, whatever that ended up at, would determine the thickness of the groove in the side panels, which I would do later. I was aiming for around 6 millimeters to match the downcut spiral bit that I have, but if they ended up thinner than that, I'd need to get a thinner bit. I'm going to be putting these boxes together with a butt joint because I don't have a good and accurate way of cutting a mitre. Now, despite what you might read on the internet, just because you're gluing end grain to long grain doesn't mean it's immediately going to fall apart. And when you run some dowels through it like that, you've got a pretty solid joint. So just to prove the point, I broke this open with a hammer, and you can see that these long grains here have broken off onto the end grain of this board. So you can use this joint, it does work, it's just not the strongest or preferred when you have other options. Real quick, I just wanted to talk about these two machines that I mentioned at the beginning of the video and how I came to get them, especially when I've been talking about all this financial trouble that I'm in. I've done video work for Timbercon, the supplier of these machines, in the past. And through that, I was able to cut a deal where I do some more video work for them, and that will help cover the costs of these machines. Now, it didn't cover all the costs, so I had to put some of my money in, but I was left with a choice. Either say no to the last thicknesser and jointer I may ever need, or take on this great opportunity while unfortunately maxing out the credit card. So I want to mention this and clear the air, full transparency, so no one's watching these videos thinking,
how can this guy be in financial trouble when he's buying these fancy new machines?
All of these projects are to cover the cost of this. This will bring the workshop back into the black, and this is what I'm going to be doing for presumably the next few months. All right, with that out of the way, let's get back to the build. I'm going to be making the lids out of multiple strips, gluing them together. And there's two reasons for that. One, I get to use a lot of the offcuts, so I'm not wasting a lot of timber. And the second is that when you glue thin strips together, you end up with a panel that's more stable. And because this board is going to be dealing with two different environments, one inside the box and one outside, I want this to be as stable as possible. What's going on here? right, the boxes are basically done. I just have one small detail to take care of. That twist. Got to get rid of that. I tried initially to tape down a sheet of sandpaper and push the box over that, but kept catching the edges of the sandpaper. So my next plan is potentially more sketchy, and that's to use the thicknesser. If I was to put the box through perpendicular, I would have a bad time because it's going to hit that edge and blow those fibers out. But if I skew this, everything's on a 45 degree, and because the knives on this thicknesser are still new and very sharp, I should get away with this. That worked perfectly. Okay, we are getting close now. The tee box is all packaged up, but I'm not going to go through that because we looked at that in the first video. So the next thing is to look at the website. I'm pretty happy with the design. I've got a big picture of one of the tee boxes up front. Scrolling down, I explain where Celery Top comes from and why it's so unique. This is in order to try and sell the fact that you're buying into something that is special. It's not just run of the mill. Coming down, I've got the actual products themselves, the two of them, the cookbook stand and the tee box. I'm not entirely happy with this product page. It's just a bit bland. This entire website is about this product page, and yet you look at this and it just seems a bit meh. Down the line, I might just see how things go and I might have to revamp this. For now, at least it's functional. When you click on one of these, it'll open it up. Further down, there are frequently asked questions. These are some of the questions that I'm expecting to get, but as I get asked more questions, I'll pop them in here. Then further down, I've got a link to the socials, so Instagram and YouTube. The YouTube link will take you to the first video where I made the cookbook stand. The idea is obviously to be able to show you how it was made, but also I'm hoping to just generate more views on YouTube. These are the products. So this is the tee box that you've just seen me make. So I'm gonna sit on 65 for now. It may change, but that's where I'm gonna leave it. Further down, I've got a description, just a little bit about it. GoDaddy is going to take care of inventory, so I don't need to worry about that. So as the orders come in, that will tick down. Having sold stuff like this in the past, it can become a bit chaotic, so I'm happy to let something else manage the inventory. Then I've got shipping. You put in the weight, the size, and then I've set up my shipping methods. It's $21.95, shipped all across Australia. This is set up by Ozpost. This isn't something that I've worked on. I'm not making any profit on that. Based on that box size, that's what you're gonna be paying. And then I can also deliver locally in Townsville. The only other thing to consider is payment. So this is where you can choose the different payment methods that you're gonna use. Your options are Square or Stripe. In my case, I've gone with Stripe only because from the reviews that I've read, it seems like a newer type of payment system and it's aimed at these types of online stores. Whereas Square has been around for a lot longer and they've evolved over time. I don't know if I necessarily stick with Stripe, but that's why I went with it. There are different fee structures between the two of them, but on a store of my size, with an inventory my size, it's not really a big difference. So with that said, the last thing to do is to go ahead and push this big green publish button, and then we are live. So without further ado, here we go.